Ms. Sarah May Kapukyan, AIS President.
So thank you, Ms. Kathleen. And good day, everyone, and welcome for today's webinar. It is my honor and privilege to introduce to you our resource speaker for today's event. So he gives inspiration to me not only because of his hard work and dedication, but because of his passion on his work. He completed his academic course in Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering at University of Eastern Philippines, University Town of Arman, Northern Samar. Also, he completed his Master of Science in Education degree here in this institution, the University of Eastern Philippines, Laoang campus. Got his postgraduate certificate in Civil Engineering and MS in Civil Engineering at Heriot-Watt University, Edinburgh, United Kingdom. Currently taking philosophy and technology management at Samar State University, Catbalogan, Samar. He was the former department of this college, the College of Engineering in this institution, the UEPL campus. He passed the Civil Engineers Licensure Examination of the Philippine Regulation Commission and got the 15th place of more than 5,000 examinees. He is an ASEAN engineer and an associate member of Association of Structural Engineers of the Philippines, ASEAN. His past experience in the field of civil engineering industry was in Daewoo Engineering and Construction Limited Company, and as a structural engineer for the construction of dry dock and ship repair yard in Bluecomb's Sultanate of Oman. He is equipped with various engineering software in designing structures such as Structural Analysis Program, SAP, Structural Analysis Aided Design, STAAD, and Autocad 2010. So he also used to review structural analysis using manual calculation and some design spreadsheets. Moreover, he also varied experience in engineering education as instructor and department head, which took the pioneering batch he handled a 100% board exam passing rate. As an instructor, he provides significant contribution to the science in the field of civil engineering profession. In addition, he also had relevant experiences in various positions in the civil engineering industry, such as quality control engineer, quality surveyor, survey engineer, project engineer, and structural engineer. At the moment, he is a lecturer in civil engineering program in Bahrain Training, affiliated tutor for the Approved Learning Partner ALP program of the Heriot-Watt University, United Kingdom, for the master's degree in construction project management and master's degree in quantity surveying. He is also a review instructor for a specialized licensure exam program of PICE and a part-time assistant professorial lecturer for Far Eastern University Institute of Technology. So, ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the man of the hour. Please welcome Engineer Jimmy Adora Neblin.
Thank you. Okay, wait for a while. Let me just share my screen. Okay. So I think my screen is with you now, right? Can you confirm if you could hear me clearly? Anyone could confirm? Okay na, malino naman ano?
Yes, sir.
Okay. First and foremost, yeah, thank you for such a kind introduction. But now let me just clear it to everyone, to all the participants, that I am not going to deal more on the resilience, on the theme about resiliency of Philippine construction industry during the COVID-19 pandemic. As for all we know, I am not actually currently residing in the Philippines. I don't have any much more idea, but I could speak more about the more updates about the construction industry in the context of a general view of the construction with regards to innovation and more. Actually, during this webinar, I think was conceptualized firstly when I had my presentation to a seminar in FEU, by which students from our place in UEPL were invited to attend, but in some circumstances they were not able to join. And then we had a conversation with Miss Syra, your ICE president, and I asked her on what I'm going to deliver. Bako niya, any one daw, any presentation that will work for both civil engineering and electrical engineering. So I was thinking that I'm going to deliver the same topic. I'm going to deliver the same topic with my presentation in FEU. And then a few days back, I was given this theme. So I decided to add more that would at least align to the theme. So I hope this is okay to everyone. First, thank you for inviting me here. Adi man si Padi Jojo, ano? Nakakita ko sa screen. And with my former colleagues as well when I was in UEP, which I left 10 years back. Okay, so let me start with my presentation. I think this will be, I will try as much as I can for a 2-hour session. If you can bear with me. So I'll be dealing with some innovations in the construction industry. We are building information modeling. And then, and the last session, which I think will be more beneficial to other students. This is for civil engineering students. I am just going to discuss and have a demonstration on introduction for structural design using SAP2000. But first, the building information modeling will be, I think, beneficial and could be more informative to all students. Actually, I had a conversation also with Jen. I was thinking to deliver a presentation about P6 Primavera, because this one will be useful and could be utilized for both civil engineering and electrical students. But due to some time constraints, I just opted to have this topic for this presentation. Anyway, in God's will, we can have some other sessions in the future that could be more focused on some kind of training, not just a presentation, because a 2-hour session would not accommodate the the transmission of or the acquisition of knowledge that you would expect, let's say, for hands-on usage of certain software. Okay, so the first session, I will be expecting that everyone will at least identify what is a BIM, what are the key concepts of BIM, and then let us assess the impact of BIM on the construction practice. This is relevant, and I think I could align this also to the theme, because you were talking about the resiliency of the construction industry in the Philippines. I could not, as I said earlier, I could not talk more about the resiliency, the level of resiliency of the Philippine construction industry. But in the context of the general view of the context, speaking in my side here in Bahrain, I could not say that there is really bumagsak pa talaga yung construction industry, because of matter of fact, for all the industries that is much more affected, less siguro na affected yung one. Less affected is the construction industry. It is very evident here in Bahrain that okay, for a while I am disturbed by this sound. I would suggest to I would suggest to unmute your. Okay. Oh, let me share again. So sorry for that. So what I was saying earlier, okay, about the construction industry, talking and speaking in my view here in Bahrain, the less affected industry that I could see is the construction. Dito nga you could not see, you could not say that the industry in the construction is affected, because there are a lot of construction now that we could witness for some building construction, horizontal construction, road construction, and many more that I think for majority of the industries were affected. It is the construction industry. It's much or less affected. Okay. Talking about evidences, may mga kaibigan ako dito, they are friends of mine, they left home for good to Philippines because of nawala ng trabaho. But a lot of friends who are engaged or working in the construction are still here. Okay? That only implied that the construction industry is still on its peak here in Bahrain for construction of different establishment, infrastructures, and many more. Okay, so let's have, I hope you could see this one.
The Bim Minute.
Try to watch first.
Not so long ago, building a world of harmony came with quite a few twists. Lengthy parts, accuracy, interpretations, misunderstandings, and sometimes surprises. But times have changed. There's no ding with the BIM. The Building Information Modeling helps each stakeholder, client, architect, expert, and end user of a project to share the same vision from the design to the usage of a building. BIM with 3 M's for model, modeling, and management. Model, thanks to a 3-dimensional digital mock-up displaying details on every single component's feature. Managing, thanks to a structured layout that follows every step of the project's life cycle. Modifying and improving the project together with all its stakeholders, thanks to this brand new joint multi-display process. With BIM, construction enlivens the ways of designing, constructing, and operating efficient buildings and infrastructures, fulfilling the customers' and end users' expectations.
Okay, so the question is, what is BIM? Okay, so why we're talking about BIM? I don't know if some of you are aware of BIM, has already information about BIM. So this is just short for building information modeling. It is just like similar to some other software. This is a digital representation of some physical and functional characteristic of a facility. So the main basic premise of this is the collaboration of the different stakeholders. For all we know, in the construction industry, there are different teams that is engaged in the implementation of construction activities, and collaboration is the key for the success of the project. As a matter of fact, there are some innovation nowadays in terms of construction contracts, construction processes, procedures, which has to do with collaboration. Okay? Collaborative na, no? Because in the traditional or the primitive approach of the construction is not more collaborative or more collaboration. If you are aware about the construction type of procurement, let us say, of the traditional method by which the design team are really afar from the construction team. Parang sinasabi, we are the design team, so you should have a big respect with us. Of course, we do such respect. Pero yung sinasabi na we are at higher level na there's a barrier between the design and the construction team. But nowadays, the collaboration is being introduced to the industry. And one of these tool that could provide or that could achieve such collaboration is by means of BIM. So what is all BIM? What is more on BIM? BIM, as I said, it's a digital representation. Actually, it's up to the 7th degree. And the next slide, I could tell what is this all about. But the main concept here is something to do with the standards of interoperability. What do you mean by interoperability? If you are aware of if you are using Autocad and then you are using STAAD, there is interoperability between the two software. And when you have interoperability, that has something to do with collaboration. In other words, you can extract, you can export files from AutoCAD that you could use it in a BIM with less effort. Kasi you are not going to generate any model anymore because you have already created such drawing from other software, let's say from AutoCAD. So there is an interoperability standards. So why BIM? Why I am introducing this BIM? And why are we thinking for such innovation? May AutoCAD na tayo. We have STAAD, we have SAP, we have ETABS, and many more software. And why are we thinking for innovations? Any one of you here has still cellphone na Nokia? Ewan ko kung meron pa kayong Nokia. Do you know the reason behind why Nokia disappeared? That is because of the failure of the research and development of the company. And it has something to do with innovations. No? Hindi sila nakapag-upgrade and they could not hindi makasabay. They could not go along with the trend of the technology. I remember when I was still in Oman, year back 2009, nasa peak pang popularity ng Nokia. And that was the time when iPhone was introduced. But the research and development of Nokia was left behind because of failure to keep pace with the trend of the industry. So nawala sila, hindi sila nakapag-adapt. And that's why I'm thinking, why do we think about innovations? Why BIM? According to Sir John Egan, I don't know if you are aware of, if you know John Egan. John Egan is a British national who was the chairman of the construction industry task force way back in, I think, 1998. So the report was on the performance of the construction industry, and it was reported by him that the industry is as a whole is underachieving. Kung nasa probinsya tayo, I don't know if how could we say that the performance of the construction is underachieving. For what reason? There are so many factors, according to research, that the construction industry is in underperformance. Siguro mapapansin lang natin sa probinsya because of the corruption. But aside from that, there are a lot of things that is being assessed or criticized as such underachieving industry. So, what is your perception of the performance of the construction industry in the province? Ano bang perception nyo? What is your observation? If you are in your respective units, sa mga subjects ninyo, I don't know if you are doing some kind of assessment or evaluation on certain outcome, let's say outcome-based performance of certain subject. I don't know, how do you perceive or how do you think about the performance of the construction industry locally? Okay, so we can only say such things if you did some kind of, let us say, research with some kind of evidence. But in the report of Egan, we could say that the construction industry is really on its poor performance. So then, if you're the client, how could you say that? How do you perceive the performance? Kung owner ka, does the contractor were able to achieve at least the three objectives of the construction in terms of quality, in terms of time, and in terms of the duration? Na-achieve ba nila pagka sinabi mo na 5 million pesos? 5 million lang ba talaga nagagastos mo? Just like when you are having your yung mga budgeting niyo sa allowance niyo, ano, binigyan kayo ng 500 pesos, is it enough? O baka kulang, ano? So there might be some poor performance in terms of management. So now let me show to you some notable failures in the construction performance. In the 70s and 80s, these are flagship project in UK. I'm sorry to have this example na puro sa UK kasi these are some of my units na dinideliver ko dito sa master's degree, and I could not talk more about in the Philippines without such evidence. This one is very evident. Delivered in 3.5 years late. So 3.5 years is na late. Siguro 5 years tapos nag-extend pa ng 3.5 years with an over cost. Time and cost overrun. Time and cost overrun siya. Over budget of 329 million, and then in 80s to 90s, this is also a flagship project. The British Library, the initial cost is 96 million, but it reaches up to 400 million pounds. 5 years late. Siguro mapapansin nyo, I remember doon sa, I was still working in the capital, provincial capital. May mga issue no na ganun. Complete na yung project, but no, complete na yung payment, pero yung project didn't reach yet the actual completion. So mga issues like this, 2000 onwards, I don't know if you're watching the football. This Wembley Stadium 1 year late with 75 million pounds over budget. So these are some of the report of Egan. Why he criticized that the construction industry is underperformance, lack of satisfaction, of course, from the owner or from the stakeholders. Yun yung mga tinatawag natin na value of money. Okay, pagka bumibili ka ng cellphone, minsan hindi ka satisfied kasi akala mo andun na lahat. Law of profitability, low profits. Let us say your estimate is 10% na profit, bumaba o minsan kulang pa. Lack of performance, okay? How the project is achieved in a certain period of time or duration. Lack of innovation and development. Nowadays, because of this report, there are so many innovations na were developed out of this report, and this is a good result of such research. Pagka nagkakaroon ka ng research, whether the result is positive or negative, in the context of improvement, for the purpose of improvement and development, whether the result is negative, then you take it into a positive way that you could develop your method. So that's why madami na may mga modular construction na ngayon. Dati sabi mo lang offsite construction or precast, and the precast construction has had an innovations more than what we expect. Okay, which I can present some figures later. Industry dominated by old craft culture, yung mga mga makaluma ba na they don't want to adapt to certain changes, just like the introduction of some software innovations na ginagamit sa project. Hindi sila mga adaptable sa changes. Fragmented and adversarial, that is due to some issues about collaboration, the non-collaborative effort between the different teams involved in the project. And then you have the lack of innovation and development, which I've already said earlier. So these are just some notable changes in the construction methods. There is what we call volumetric, volumetric, such a volume of a certain project which could be delivered inside, sa site. So, sabi natin, or volumetric, or it could be considered also as modular construction. As you can see here, this one is a modular construction, isang toilet, isang set ng toilet na deliver on site, just like this one. For example, this unit is being fabricated from Switzerland and then be delivered in in the Philippines. Mga ganun yung mga tipo yung concept ng innovation. You have panelized a panel of your door, a panel of your facade wall, which was being fabricated from the factory and then delivered at site. Some sub-assemblies and components. Yung dati na parang unbelievable, na mga footing or mga concrete or stairs na ina-assemble na lang sa site. Dati ginagawa lang yan for in some industries. Mga assemblies and components for example, in car industries, assemblies and components. And then the types of construction technology impacting the industry because of the updates in technology. We have mobile technology, drones ginagamit dati sa movie lang ginagawa natin. And of course, we have this one example is the BIM, which I am delivering now. And then you have here the 3D printing. Okay, have you virtual reality and wearables? Actually, we are using now this kind of similar to virtual, reality presentations. And then there are also some virtual reality and wearables which are being used in the industry. I don't know if you have witnessed 3D printing. In my school here, during some of our exhibits, may mga 3D printing yan, mga 3D printing. Hindi lang yung 2D, mga solid talaga na printing. Then now, you have the artificial intelligence. Okay, so BIM is really a help. Okay, especially nowadays, with the current pandemic situation, with the current pandemic situation, you can just use BIM and could work remotely. You don't need to be on site at all times. And not only BIM, for all the most of the software, most of the tools that we are using with the technology nowadays, but we have the era, we are in the era of the computer technology and with the internet that we could work on remotely, by which this is very appropriate in this pandemic time. To tell you, one of the this method nowadays sa construction is yung kahit hindi sa construction, but this is also being used in the construction, yung outsourcing. Madami sa inyo nagme-mention ng outsourcing. One of the projects hindi lang isa, there are a lot of projects in Qatar and some projects in the Middle East by which they are having this design team with the concept of outsourcing. For what reason? Kasi if you are going to hire design engineers from Philippines and brought it to Middle East, it will cost you a lot. Sabi natin, suseldo sila ng mga sabi natin 100,000 pesos or minimum of 70,000 ganun. They're going to bring it in for new design engineers, mga baguhan. They're going to bring it in Middle East. That will cost a lot for the company. Whereas if they are going to do some outsourcing, they're going to tap a design team from Philippines, and then the Philippines will just, of course, they are just going to hire design engineers from the place. So yung mga design engineers sa atin ngayon, mga bago sa Pilipinas, 20,000, 25,000. Sabi natin kahit na 50,000. That will save them a lot. That will save them a lot, especially now during this pandemic situation, but by which there are a lot of travel restrictions, especially ngayon nga, kaya nga one of the reasons that we could not go home for our vacation in the Philippines sa Lawang, because of the travel restrictions. Previously, parang last month, parang 1,500 lang ang inaalaw ng mga OFW na umuli. But the case is, there are some issues, also health issues that add to the restrictions that reasons of this one, hindi makauli. So what I was saying, during this time, this situation, in this pandemic, all the software, including this BIM, is really a big help, especially that on the government protocol of doing here, there is a remote, there is a protocol that around 75% of the personnel in our side, in the government, I'm working in the government, that 75% of the government employees should be working remotely at home. Okay, work from home. So I'm working from home since nakabulan this year. So work from home, and that is because of the technology, and it could not be done for some other industries. In the construction, the designer, some other team could just work remotely. Of course, maliban sa, aside from for those working in the transactional level, yung mga operational level, nandun talaga sa site, no? And so this is it. BIM is a help. So the BIM has innovated from CAD, which is from 2D, and then goes on to 3D, and then you have the 4D, which is the time dimension. Yung mga 4D natin, yung time dimension na yun yung mga MS project, ano? Ini-incorporate na siya dito. Integrate MS project, or say you have P6 Primavera. And then to 4D and then 5D and beyond, which is now the BIM. So this is the different 7D modeling concept of which includes BIM. You have 2D, the flat drawing, the XIY components only. Then you have the 3D components, which you have the Autocad. And then you also have the 4D, involves time scheduling. Yung sinasabi ko ng ano, time scheduling is in Primavera, MS Project. And then some more on costing, which were costing and data which were involved or engaged, integrated in the BIM. It involves also procurement data, some specifications for delivery schedule, and many more, and 7th dimension for operations and then facilities management. Okay, so as you can see in this figure, okay, so you have here the 2D, 3D, okay, and some realistic 3D. From 3D to 4D. So meaning, it is not just simply a three-dimensional drawing, okay? It also includes time duration integration in the software or in the tool. So how do you measure accomplishments for interim payment? Let's say you're going to do or to pay to collect for interim payment, regular monthly payment. So let's say using the software, after 495 days, you know, if you're just using MS Project, after 495 days, you can figure it out. What could be the corresponding percentage of completion? What could be the corresponding amount that is supposed to pay by the client? But with the BIM, you could also figure out the 3D drawing virtually that could be easily understood by all the teams, especially the owner who has a difficulty in figuring it out, the real view of the drawing. I remember in Oman, itong mga, there are some managers. Our managers are mga Korean company man, Daewoo Construction. Our manager could hardly visualize yung project, the activity na we are supposed to implement. So what we are going to do, what we did is to ask our CAD operators to do it in a 3D drawing, and for him to easily understand what is that activity, what is that structure that has to be implemented for such particular duration of time. That time, wala pang BIM. That was 2009. But nowadays, with the use of the BIM, it will be easily understood, especially from the side of the client. Ay, yung mga client, they are not experienced individual in terms of construction activities. Kaya mahirapan talaga sila they find it difficult to understand the concept of the drawing. So as I said, in the 4D models, this one could be solely generated by MS Primavera, or MS Project, and then Primavera. But in the BIM, it's just all in one. Parang kompleto na talaga siya. So building information modeling is a database of all information. Andun lahat yung data, structural information, the duration, the time scale, and then specifications. So what is the concept and what is the advantage of having the BIM versus the traditional? Ano ba yung traditional natin? Yung na-mention ko nga, traditional, which we could say very primitive approach sa construction procurement. When we say construction procurement, we're not talking about just about purchasing, it is to the general or to the high level of procurement. Yung term ng procurement dito has something to do with the delivery of the project. It's either design out the traditional method, the design and build. Now, may mga innovation na sila yung sa PPP, and many more. Okay? So sa traditional method, makikita niyo doon sa flow, sa interaction between the different professionals involved in the construction. Medyo chaos, messy yung communication. The civil engineer could talk to the contractor, will talk to the MEP, going to talk with the structural engineer, you're going to deal with the architect, and then just like the design visual, they are going to deal across with the different professionals, and this will lead to some kind of conflict in the construction. Coordination really in this method is really a key, and then patience is a key of this one. Kaya nga masyadong magulong construction, yung pagsisigawan is just normal, and that is why just in the bachelor's level, students are not just being trained in terms of the intellectual ability, has something to do with the toughness and the mental toughness that you have to deal into certain situation. Okay, especially in this pandemic time, yung iba na mga bibigay na lang talaga, you're going to deal with that situation that has to be, well prepared, just right from that very early stage of your career in the bachelor's degree. Kasi during the construction, during the construction, it's more than that. More than that. Kaya nga dito as I am presenting here, it's more on collaboration between the different teams. Okay? At saka whereas if you have the BIM model, as you can see, there's very smooth, all the professionals or all the members of the team will just be dealing with to a certain data, certain model. All information has to be extracted from a certain model. Civil engineer don't need to, of course, for some reason you are going to talk with the owner, but if there are most of the information that you are going to extract from a certain database. Okay, so actually with my experience, nasa sa Oman kami, our design team, the main design team, although I am on a design team as well in the construction, because there are some modification, there are some changes that we are dealing in the site. So at some cases, we don't need to bring it from our mother team, design team in which is based in Korea. So yung design team namin talaga is from Korea, nasa Korea, tapos ang iba na for us are in Oman. So that time may ganitong concept na siya, although it's a combination of this, pero dahil nga we are already in the era of in the information and technology what's this era na madali tayong makapag-communicate across the globe with the benefits of with the internet. So parang ganito na rin. Okay, but that time is not yet with the BIM. So the key concept of BIM is database instead of drawing, distributed model, process tools, and value of BIM. So I will not be dealing more with this one. Just have to show here some information. Actually, there are a lot of developers for BIM, and there are some developers who still could not complete all this information in one software. Hindi naman lahat talaga nakikita kagad sa isang software. So, but the concept is this one. So you have here a certain data, you have the legal data, designer's data, some information from the owner, which are gathered at certain database. Hindi mo na kailangan pumunta sa owner para, for example, your owner is coming from the Philippines, so they're coming from Korea or from other places. It will be difficult for you to reach them. Of course, with the internet, that would be possible. But if your data is in the concept of BIM, that would be much easier and effective for the team. So you have design models, you have construction model, scheduling model, you have cost model, which I already presented to you earlier, by which these are really very helpful, beneficial to the team. Pag meron ka na nito, it will help a lot, especially now in this pandemic time and future difficult situation that's similar to this pandemic. The innovations in the engineering industry is looking always for the worst thing that might happen, and that is for the purpose of innovation and for the effective delivery of the project. And then there are some project tools. Okay, some BIM standards which they are using, as I said, some interoperability and compatibility consideration. Yun yung isa sa mga hinahanap natin sa software. No? If you are using, say you are using STAAD, when you are using STAAD, you could use Autocad. In the same way that with this, if you are having some operation from, let us say, from MS Project, is it possible to integrate it to this BIM? So that's the case of interoperability here in the BIM standards. Okay, some BIM standards consideration. Okay, I just want to to deal with these benefits of BIM. Easier coordination of different software and project personnel. So as I said earlier, about has something to do with the collaboration, and it could be easier to coordinate with the different team in the project, with the different discipline. Kasi may mga issue talaga na mahirap makipag-usap, especially if you are dealing with different different nationalities, So if you have this software, then it will be easier for you and effective for you to implement the project. Improve the productivity if you have this one, so that there would be less RFI. And then you have improved communication because of 3D visualization. As I said earlier, yung ibang mga, especially the client, has the difficulty in dealing with visualization, just looking at the project plan, which is being presented in 2D, or let's say 2D, kahit na 3D, ang pagka hindi siya realistic talagang dating, medyo nahihirapan talaga yung mga owner or some clients. Improve quality control. Only the problem here is some obstacles to adequate training. But I think this one is not really now an issue. Since 3 years back here in Bahrain, may mga trainings na nag-umpisa dito sa BIM, and there are BIM related software na ginagamit. Excuse me for. Okay, so some senior management buy-in, may mga project, may mga senior management level na they would not easily adapt to this software introduction. Kasi nga, some issues on project cost issues, yung mga return of investment na sinasabi nila, of course, has something to do with the cost of software, cost of the required hardware upgrades. Even here in our school, sa mga, we are delivering some training courses, mga short training courses in corporate training. Our senior management could not just easily, get this software. There are some issues, something to do with the cost. Of course, they're considering some, return of investment. But because for now, this one will be costly. Although yung mga BIM related na mga tawag nito na mga software ngayon, hindi pa talaga siya complete. In the sense, up to the 7th dimension, yung Revit, meron na rin yung Revit, pero but at this time is still costly. Costly pa siya. Just like when the Autocad software was first introduced, costly pa siya. But nowadays, may mga subscription na siya na hindi na siya ganun kamahal. Okay, so some BIM level implementation. In UK, actually this presentation, as I said earlier, was taken from UK because our delivery here were accredited, or the units were accredited from UK, which is also being applied in some other across the globe. Okay, so may mga level, BIM levels siya, which are very important for getting contracts for construction project in UK. Just to show you this, this is not yet updated, but 2 years back, 3 years back, this is the global BIM adoption. Very few, wala pang Pinas, and there's just, if you can see here, few countries are adapting to this BIM. Pero yung Pilipinas, actually parang nag-umpisa na rin sa Pilipinas ngayon. There are some, sa Manila, may mga BIM related na mga trainings na ginagawa ngayon. Okay. So as I said, just want to stress this out. The government are stipulating that all companies tendering for public contracts must be level to BIM enabled by 2016 pa yun, ano? 2016. Kasi the disadvantage if you are not accredited to a certain BIM level, it is a level 2, you could not get construction project. Ano, let us say sa Pilipinas, ba contractor ka. Wala tayong ganung protocol masyado kahit nga sa mga Autocad or anong software. Wala pa tayong, as far as I know, I don't know if I'm mistaken. There are no such protocol sa government. Sa UK kasi may mga government protocol sila. Pagka sinasabi na you should be BIM level 2, you cannot get the project pagka hindi ka BIM level 2. So how do you achieve BIM level 2? Of course, there are some standards that you have to get, just like trainings and seminar trainings for BIM for your staff, BIM subscription, or some kind of accreditation that you have to achieve with this level. If this will be implemented sa Pinas, for sure, madami yung mga protocol na lang sa mga software, But due to the need, due to the need sa work, due to the necessity to the relevant work activity, yung construction mga kontrakto sa atin nakapag-adjust na din naman talaga. Okay, but if there will be some kind of a protocol like this, then it would be a different story for them. Okay, so we have here some BIM training. Just to mention to you that we started it 2017. BIM essentials. In some university it was given. Actually, in the PIC Bahrain chapter, nagkaroon din kami ng BIM training using Autodesk kasi there are different developer for BIM. Andiyan yung Bentley, andiyan yung Autodesk. So we had with the sponsorship of the PIC Bahrain chapter a training for BIM. As a matter of fact, in my master's degree program, as I was introduced to you earlier, I am still having my MSc in UK, but I did complete the postgraduate certificate. Yung mga NQF level kasi nasa different academic system yung sa UK. Pagka matapos ka ng ilang units, kuha ka na certificate, diploma, and then MS. Okay, so I'm still working on it sa MS ko. And then one of the in this program, binibigyan kami ng mga workshop, so mga talaga mga licensed software na kinakandak for training, so just to tell you how serious is the UK in terms of its introduction of the program to the country, yung sinasabi ko nga may BIM level protocol siya, so lahat in-introduce din siya pati sa mga students. Okay, so just to help you understand more, wait. Play this one. Give us the general concept of the BIM. I hope you will hear it. Okay, so I hope from the video, I hope that's clear on your side. That video will help you visualize what is all about the BIM that I was talking in this first session. Though we could not have some demonstration about this one, at least there is what we call the introduction of this software, of this tool that is now being used in the industry. At this early stage of your of your career, studying in the bachelor's degree would open up your mind, more about the civil engineering industry or the engineering industry as a whole. I understood there are some electrical engineers in the group, by which this will help us really motivate, help us to be encouraged to pursue more, because as you can see here we need to be part of the future. We must evolve, we must innovate, we must accelerate. And how we're going to do that? How we're going to do that is to engage ourselves. These trainings and seminars, webinar, in a way, during this pandemic situation is helping us a lot. Okay, dahil nga sa pandemic na to, we were able to have this webinar, talking from here across the globe would not be easy. Okay, dahil sa pandemic tayo, nagkaroon tayo ng ganito, and this is the positive side in the situation. Okay, so we are engineering a better and sustainable future to them. So there are the references. So that is for the first session, and as I said earlier, I will be talking two topics today. And then the other one here is about the structural design using the SAP2000. So I will be having some kind of demonstration here. This is the one, actually, the topic that I presented in FEU during the seminar series a month ago. Also, as I said earlier, I think this webinar also, one of the reason was conceptualized because you were invited. I don't know the reason you were invited to attend for some reason. So we're doing this one. So I will be talking here about the structural design using this tool or using this software. Okay, so SAP2000. We have BIM earlier, which is up to the 70 model, and SAP2000 has something to do with structural detail, structural tool, structural software alone for structural analysis. So my apology for the rest of the participants na hindi man sila civil engineering, but as I say, this could also help you motivate. Could help you motivate in your undertaking to strive more. That the world in the civil engineering is, or in the electrical engineering, is beyond what you are thinking in your nowadays, now at your level. Okay, we have a lot of opportunities ahead that are waiting for us. So let us try to be patient, and yeah, I think with the mentoring, with the guidance of the staff, faculty and staff of the department, will lead you to a better future. Okay, so let's talk about this one. So I'll be expecting you to learn about the concept of the SAP Structural Analysis Program, which is the SAP2000 version 14. I'm going to talk about the basic commands, what are the steps, and then we're going to have some kind of demonstration using this this tool, this software, for a sample bridge project. So what SAP 2000 can do? Ano ba yung nagagawa ng SAP? Just like some other software, this is a structural analysis and design software which is being developed by Computer and Structures Incorporated. I don't know if you are aware of the CSI. Ano sila lang naman nag-develop ng ETABS, okay? ETABS, and of course yung SAP. Yung SAP kasi parang general concept siya, no? But you can also analyze the frames using the SAP, okay? But ETABS could perfectly do it. Now, this is a very powerful software that can design almost any kind of civil engineering structure. Kahit ano pang mga civil engineering structure yan. Actually, this is the software that we are using in the construction of dry dock and ship repair yard in Oman. Kaya itong ginagamit niya kasi we are not just dealing about frames, beams, and columns. Different structures that are just like we are dealing some pile, foundation, construction for the dry dock. Okay, so in SAP 2000, our modeling and analysis could consider the joint as 1D element using frame, cable, and tendon, using 2D element shell, which is this one for beams, let us say, for beam structure, and then this one for, let us say, for a wall or for slab, and then some other solid and foundation, and then the soil, some 3D element. As a matter of fact, we use this one for design of the key blocks. Yung key blocks yung sa mga pier construction sa dry dock, itong ginagamit na 3D element. And by which the consideration of the frame element is using a material made by steel frame, by concrete, aluminum, or some cold formed steel frame. So the concept of SAP 2000, so of course you take into consideration the local access, okay, of the frame element. Let's say you are talking about the beam. So consider mo yung local access niya. Let's say you have the XYZ access. You remember in your vector analysis, XYZ or IJK. And then you take consideration that particular local access. And then also you have your section properties. If you, let's say you're going to have a belt up section or from a certain frame property that is available from the software, from the tool that you could import and use it. Okay, some local access or consideration for your area element, just like in the design of your slab, design of your wall. That's something to do with area element. So in the area element, these are the section properties that we are going to consider. You have membrane, just like the shear wall behavior, lang. And then you have your plate, yung slab behavior lang. Pag slab behavior, yung subjected to moments and bending moments. Pagka shell, it's a combination of shear wall and slab behavior. Usually yung shear wall natin, pagka non-bearing wall lang, we don't consider any weight, weight or mga lateral load. Kahit mga bearing wall siya, our consideration is much more on the normal force acting on the wall. And there are some lateral forces if it is being subject acting on that membrane, and that becomes a shell consideration. Okay. So as you see here in the area element, we have here the shell, the plate, and the membrane. That would be the effect. Okay, shell, because we are considering here both the consideration of what of the flexure, the moment, and then yung pinaka shear dito, yung shear ng slab. As you see here, the membrane, that would be the effect if you are going to analyze it by membrane, the effect on the structure. So in the section properties, some consideration as thick plate and then thin plate. Then you have the shell meshing. In the finite element program, we take consideration the shell element, the meshing. The meshing, you're going to take consideration of the finite element, yung pinakamamaliit na part, integrating, getting just like the derivative portion of that area. You remember in differential integral calculus, you get some part of it and then analyze it. So as you see here also for solid element, you have this solid that, as I said earlier, we had a design of this for key blocks, yung mga ginagamit sa mga piers for the construction of dry dock. Then just like some other software, we have the drawing tools that we are going to use for generation of the model. Yung generate ka ng model, just like in AutoCAD, may mga tools ka, no? Just like creating lines, ano? Kung gagawa ka ng structure ng beam, you create with a certain line, may point ka, may area ka for wall. And ito yung point sa mga joints, no? Joints. You are going to reshape, snap options, just like in AutoCAD or some other software. There are drawing tools that you are also going to use for the generation of the model. Then view tools. How could you view the object in a 2D or in a 3D object? You set the display option. When you say display option, you are going to set, or let's say you want to take a display of color, of the label or the joints and many more. You set the limit of your area, you zoom and pan. So these are some just view tools command. Then you define the tools. Let's say you define your frame property, if it is made of concrete or made of steel or timber. And then the area properties, you define your load cases. If you have several load cases, let's say you have dead load, you have wind load, and some lateral loads, just like earthquake. Then you analyze the case, your load combinations, whether what kind of load combination you have, whether it is for certain governing code, kung nasa British ka or American standards. Okay, you have the different load combinations that you are going to consider. And then, of course, nag-create ka ng model, you are going to define the property. The property, if it is made of concrete or made of steel, ano yung mga design strength niya, ano yung if-Y for if you are using the design of steel, and so on. Okay, as you see here for concrete design, you can have to just like in STAAD also, kung may alam kayo sa STAAD, you are going to do the the section, generate the section, and then of course with the reinforcement, if it is being to be reinforced for designing or for checking or just like an evaluation. And then for steel, this is a good thing that I like most in SAP, kasi sa steel design parang mas gusto ko siya compared sa STAAD or some other software. I don't know, mas kuwan lang ako siguro dito. Because you can have the option to select auto-select your material or your section. Okay, you can have auto-select, just unlike to some other software, you are going to try with a certain section and then apply it, and if it is not, if it fails, they are going to use another one. So you could import from the base, ano, sa database niya. Meron siyang different properties of steel sections. Or you can also create your own designer section. Yung is this section niya. Gawa ka ng, it could be a composite structure. Could be a composite of a combination of a concrete encasing steel structure. And then, as I said, your dead load analysis, you introduce a different load, dead load, you introduce the wind load, and then the earthquake load. And then you do, the wind loading for the different coefficient, if you are considering wind load, similarly with that of the earthquake load. But of course, in our, for this particular session, I am just going to introduce to you basic ones so that, you know, overloading of information, you know, overload na kita sa information. At least my point here is just to introduce with you as a sort of motivation, ano? Motivation na ma-encourage kayo. And during this time, kahit medyo difficult yung situation, there is still bright future ahead. Positive size now we could take. Okay, so analysis case. You could analyze the case, okay, with different considerations, and then with the different combinations, whether you have a combination of dead load and live load. Okay, and then after you define the tools, and then you assign the tools. What are, for example, you assign your joint. What are the restraint or the support of your joint? Whether it is fixed, hinge, or roller support, some constraints and some spring. And frame assignment, you assign your certain drawing with a frame section, some releases if you don't want to be analyzed, if you wanted to analyze as joint connection, okay, without moment. Of course, when you have joint connection, it's a free rotating connection where moment is equivalent to 0, or your end offset, insertion point, some, and then you have here the area assignment, your load assignment, what kind of load you have. You have your force or point load, some displacement consideration that you could assign, frame load. This one is the load on the connection, just like sa mga trusses, ano, mga designing trusses. Then sa frame load naman, kung mga concentrated load at the midspan or distributed or uniform load, there's some temperature load. Area load, consideration for a slab, ano, sa mga slab or wall, has something to do with the area. And then you have here the joint assignment, as which I already presented to you earlier. Kung i-design mo siya o assign mo siya dito spring, or could be, see here from the joint restraint, you can select if it is fixed, hinge, roller. And then some assigning tools to the frame if you would like it to release the moment, meaning it is just a consideration of without moment. Moment is equivalent to 0. Just like for the analysis of the truss. So mga joint connection, wala man tayong moment doon, so you have to release. And then you assign the tools, the force, if you're going to assign here the force at the joint, or it could be a uniform load, a certain membrane, or a certain structure, or a certain point load at a certain point, concentrated load yung tinatawag natin. And then we select tools. How are we going to select tools? Just like in Autocad, is it from left or from right to left, or from left to right? You will see the difference similar to that of Autocad. Okay, so how you're going to select it? By cursor, by properties, by assignment, or by group. Then you can also edit tools. Ito lang medyo iba siya sa Autocad, kasi sa Autocad Control C ka lang, ano, similar sa mga Windows Control C. Oh, yeah. May Control C or CO. Here, instead of CO in Autocad, dito R ka, Control R, replicate. Sa edit tools, replicate siya. Ano? Kasi iba naman siya yung developer nito. CSI, iba naman sa Autodesk. Ano? Pero yung I haven't tried extracting from Autocad to the software. Pero yung STAAD from Autocad could be we could import file from Autocad going to the STAAD. So you have here this is what I'm saying about interoperability. Yung I have mentioned BIM. Sa BIM may mga interoperability standards consideration na siya. Okay? So there is a standard that is being a collaboration with the different developer. Yung CSI nakipag-collaborate sa developer ng isang BIM na they could have what we call this interoperability. Na yung mga file ng, let's say, the file of the CAD file could be imported to be used in the generation of model for a certain software. So yun yung interoperability. So much more with the replicate, you could replicate, you could mirror, okay? Just like an AutoCAD, you could just type IMI and then you could mirror it, or you could copy, replicate. And you divide the frame into certain areas. Then you can extrude also, from a certain plane or from a certain line or certain point, you can extrude it to make it a line. And then the line you could extrude it to make it an area, just like this one. And then an area could be extruded to make it a solid. So we analyze the tool, we set the analyze option. If we are dealing with static analysis, then we can just turn off the model. And then we display the tools. We load display, we display the sections, we display the generated forces, generated forces. We display the deformed shape, we display the frame force. For some cases, nag-generate tayo ng shear moment diagram of the certain structure. We generated it. We analyze it, and then we get the value of the frame forces. We just extract the frame forces and then use it in another software that just like a spreadsheet. Gagamitin mo na lang siya for generation of the design procedure. So kukunin mo siya, not using solely the software. Yung iba, generate ng sarili nilang software, and then from a certain software, they use that generated frame forces or result forces of shear moment diagram, at gagamitin nila sa kanilang spreadsheet, and they develop it in a certain design procedure. So it could also be like that. Depende sa mga client. There are some clients, may mga clients na they're very specific into let's say specific sila sa mga tawag dito software na gagamitin. Let's say they would be specifically mentioned, you are going to use a STAAD, you are going to use ETABS, or you're going to use SAP. So depende. Then you have to display tools, input and then output data, and then you are going to the design tool. So now when you're designing, you are going to set your preference. For steel design or for concrete design, what are your preferences? Are you using American standards, or are you using British standards or Philippine standards? Actually, I don't think so that there's a standard here from NSCP, but we can always use the SAI standards since majority of our reference from NSCP were taken from ECI standards as well. So you have for concrete frame design, okay, with the different combinations that you could check the details. Okay, and then if it's steel, as I said, if it's steel frame design, aluminum frame, called the formed steel frame design, we have to check the demand capacity, the ratio. If for students who did or have undertaken already the structural analysis subject, this is our reference that your demand over the capacity should be less than to 1. Okay? Yung mga parang yung combined na flexural stress mo, it should be less than 1. Because you are dealing with the combination of different forces or stresses, it should be less than 1 to be safe. Okay, so let's have some demonstration. Let us say you have here a simple bridge. Simple bridge with this corresponding span. This is 30 meters or 30,000 millimeters. And then you have a concrete slab of 150 millimeter. The width of the bridge is 6,000 millimeters or 6 meters. And then you have this corresponding dead load and then live load. Let's try to generate this one. Yeah. Anyway, I recorded this one, and then I could share it with you for if you would like to follow some demonstration of this. If you would like to follow the demonstration of this software, okay? So let us try to have this demonstration. It will just take a few minutes, I think 20 minutes or less. So as you see here, this is the SAP2000 version 8, version 14. So this is you are being given the tip that would help you always if if you wanted to show this. As always, mayroon ka laging tip for the day that you could use for. That would be a tip helpful for using the software in the future. Okay, so just like some other software, you open the file, okay, or you create a new file. You could have Control N for new file, and then you set your unit here. So we are using metric or international system. You have kilonewton, and meter. And then we could, as you can see here, the default template. You have blank, you have grid, you have only for beam if you are dealing with beam. You have 2D trusses, you have 3D trusses, you have 2D frames, you have 3D frames, you have for wall, you have for flat slab, you have for shells, you have for staircases, you have for storage structures, just like elevated tanks. This one is very famous here dito sa Bahrain. May mga elevated na mga concrete structures sila. You have underground concrete, you have solid models, cable bridges, and many more. Okay, so I would better to use this grid only so that I could show you how the basic generation of model starting from scratch using the grid. So from here, as you can see here, you have your 11 grid lines. Okay, you have your 11 grid lines. So I will just type it here. In the X direction, you have 11 grid lines, as you have seen earlier. Then you have the Y direction. Yung Z direction, yung pataas, Y direction, you have 2 grid lines. Z direction, meron din dalawa. X distances, yung bawat grid line, you have here 3 meters. 3 meters, okay? Ito yung Z, ito yung X. So papunta doon yung Y. Okay? So you have here X, you have 3, you have for Y direction, the width of the bridge is 6 meters, and then the height 6 also. Then we can start our line from 0, 0. So as you can see here in the workspace, we have here the 3D view, and then we have here the 2D view. At Z is equal to 6. We can check it from here. Ito yung cyan color, andito siyang level. Pag I am going to toggle it down, I am going to click it. Nasa Z is equal to 0. Ito yung Z natin, di ba? Okay. Ito yung Z natin, pataas. Ito yung X. And then you have here this Y. Okay? So now we define our material. Okay? We use steel. Let's say we use A36, ASTM A36. Okay? Ito naman ginagamit natin kahit sa mga discussion natin sa klase, di ba? Okay. And then we define our section, our frame section. We import new property. So we use double angle. Let's say we use double angle. And then we have here, will pop up from the database. You can use the sections 8.pro. Ito yun, So let's say we use 5x5. Example lang, 5x5 inches. That is 125 by 125. Bridge siya kaya malaki. Okay. Let's say 5x5 is 4x3. You have here 5x5. Okay, double angle siya, no? Then we move up to here. Press the shift key para ma-select lahat, and then okay. Then okay. Okay, then we add new property. Then we use auto select. Ano? We use auto select. From here, we could create a name. Lagyan natin trust. Okay, then we select all. We add it here. And then we click OK. Okay, and dyan na siya, trust. We are going to use that one for our selection of our member. But before that, okay, this is the drop-down menu. Ano? Ito yung file, ito yung edit, ito yung view, pag-view ng mga object. Ito yung define, dinidefine na natin. Has something to do with the bridge, and then how you are going to draw, which we are going to draw now, by which there is also a shortcut tools here, ano, andito sa side. Ano? So let us say you draw. Pagka mag-draw ka, ito, draw frame cable tendons. Pwede rin, you click this one. You can click this one or here. Okay, we use our auto selection earlier that we selected, that we created, yung truss. Click it from here, left click, and then left click here, then right click to stop. Okay. Pagka-escape mo, ayun, wala siya, no? Yung command. Balik mo ulit. Check it, it's truss, okay? You also have here, huh? Going straight here. Okay, right click and then also here. Instead of doing here each one, ano, gawa na lang tayo. You can copy or replicate. Highlight, the highlight, the selection process, yung selection natin. Pagka right to left, okay. Once you hit the structure, then you can select it right away. Okay? So, but from left to right, pagka ginanon mo, no, you cannot select it. It should be enclosed in the box. Okay? So, again. So, just like this one, I'm going to select this one. Okay? Control R or here in edit, andito siya, replicate. Ano no? Replicate. Or, we could use Control R. Ilan distances niya, i-replicate mo ito? 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 copies, and then yung distances along X is 6 meters. Okay, so you have here at X, you have 6, Y, nothing, and then yung replication, yung increment data niya, ilan yun? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 hanggang dito. So you have 5. So as you see, this is the replicated member. Okay, now we are going to assign the joints. Kasi if you see here, okay, clear. We are going to assign the joint that there should be. This one is only one member. We have to assign the joint that at every intersection it could be analyzed as a joint connection. Otherwise, wala siyang joint dyan, ano? So we assign at the frame. Here. At intersection, auto mesh frame with other frames. Okay, so it's already the system, the software will automatically analyze at every connection. Okay, at every connection. Okay, then we copy. We can just clear the display of assignment. We are going to generate also here. Itong part na to. So we could just copy this one. Itong apat lang, ano? We could copy it up, Control R, Control R. Pataas, oh, going to the X, here is just 3 meters. 3 meters. Y, no, wala naman siyang movement along Y. Papunta doon. But on Z, may movement siya. Here, Y, X is 3, then you will go up at 6. So you are going to encode here 6. Ilang increment data? Isa lang naman, okay? Because you have selected all the 4. So as you see here, if I'm going to toggle this at elevation 6 meters, you can see it here. This is already the replicated member. Then again, we'll have again another member here. Okay, left click and then end it with the right click again. Okay. But then again, as I said, we have to mesh this part so that it would be analyzed at every joint. Okay. The same case. Okay. Okay, so as you see here, this is our 3D. We still miss. Okay, we have this XY. Now, at this direction XZ, lalagyan pa natin itong frame dito. So, first, clear display of a sign so that we could see it here. This is from Y6. Ano yung Y is equal to 6? Andun yung 6 sa kabila. Here is 0, 0. 0 at X, 0 at Y, and then 0 at Z. So we toggle this so that we could move at Y is equal to 0. And then we use again this cable. Okay. Okay. We draw. Again, we use this truss from here. This part. Right click, escape. Now we can replicate this one. How many copies? Ito, 1, 2, 3, 4. Distances is 6 meters. So let us replicate, Control R, and then you have here, along X is 6, of course here is 0, ilang copy is 4. Then you have that one. Then again, we have to release the joint. Okay? So because if you're not going to release, that will be analyzed as there is moment. Dapat wala siyang moment, 0 lang siya. Diyan, When you analyze the truss, wala naman tayong moment diyan, di ba? When it is joint connection in a joint, wala siyang moment. Otherwise, if it is fixed, may ikon siya, may moment. So here we assign the frame when then releases. Moment 3, that is Z. Dapat walang moment siya. Okay? Then we just clear display and then we replicate again this one. From here, okay, from here, we make another copy of this one at the other side at Z is equal to 6. Take note that this one is, no, Y is equal to 6. Take note that this one is Y is equal to 0. How do you know that one? This is here. Okay? So we replicate again. Is 0, Y is equal to 6. Okay, increment is only 1. Okay, all right. So as you can see here, there is already this frame on the other side. Okay, let us move at Y is equal to 6. Again, we release, assign, frame, releases. Okay, 0, 0, okay. Now what's next? You assign what would be the joint. Oh, we take for X, Y, this is at level, assign this clear display, this is Z is equal to 6, nasa taas siya, okay? We move it down, and then we assign this joint. We assign the joint restraints. Anong connection siya? Sabihin na natin, simple support lang siya, no? Roller sa kabila. This roller. And then this side, andyan makita mo ang roller. And then this side, we assign also the joint to be, sabihin natin, hinge. Okay, so as we see it, this side, at the right side, has roller supports. And then at the left side, you have hinge supports. So from here, we also assign our shell or the slab. Okay, so we define our area section, add section. Sabi natin, let's have it a slab or deck. Okay, shell thin. We just use 4,000 PSI sa megapascal, ano yan? 275. You have here 0.15. That's 150 millimeter or 0.15 meter thickness. Then okay. Okay. So we use this area, draw rectangular area template. See, this one is slab. Click from here. Escape. Then we also mesh. Dapat ma-mesh din siya. Dapat itong mga connection dito so that you can mesh it and analyze this as one part of the slab. Okay, yung nag-analyze naman tayo, not as a whole, di ba? Isa-isa yon. Okay. Double click this automatic area mesh, and we click this mesh area based on points and then new intersection of straight line objects. Okay. And mission group with area edges, sa mga edges niya. Only this one. Okay. Okay. So, from here, we define also our load patterns. Ano ba yung mga load natin? See, you have dead load only. So, let's say, magdagdag tayo. We'll add live load. Okay? And then we click here, live. And then we add. Halimbawa, dalawa lang, ano? Dalawa lang. Then you have define load cases. Ito. Pwede mo tanggalin to, but just leave this as is. Pwede ka magdagdag pa dito, okay? And then you have load combinations. Pwede ka rin magdagdag ng load combination. Let's say dead load plus live load. Dead load plus live load. O combo 1. Okay? About 1 lang, okay? Live load 1 din, okay? Just an example. Okay, so we select this one and then we assign load. Our load here is only a uniform load for shell. So we assign area loads, uniform shell. For dead load, sabi sa problem natin, 0.5 lang, ano? You have 0.5 kilopascal or kilonewton and meter, mga unit natin ng kilonewton meter square. Okay? And then you can just click this PS, previous selection, yung previous na selection mo. And then assign mo ulit. Instead of clicking it, kasi pagka maraming members, the same member that you are going to select and then the same member that you are going to assign the load, it will be easier sa previous selection. Meron din naman yung iba, assigned by groups, assigned by a lot of them na mga option. So in this case, you can have previous selection. So again, we assign the area load, uniform shell. Let's say live load. Click naman nyo dito yung live load. Then you have here, there is a 5 kilopascal. Kung may mga existing load ka, you can replace or you can add. Kung may existing siya na you just want to add, dapat add to existing load. But this one, there's none, so replace na lang. So you have here, okay? So from here, pwede na tayo mag-analyze, okay? We can analyze. We can just turn off this model since we are just dealing with static analysis. Then we can run now. Okay, we'll wait for. Dapat dito yung computer niyo, let's say, save niyo muna. Yung mga pang-gaming, mga mataas ng graphics, maganda sana. Itong computer ko pang gaming din to. Okay? So as you can see here, you can also have the animation here, how the structure will move. Is how it will move, how it will affect the structure. Kung may lateral load ka, dito earthquake, makikita mo kung paano ang movement niya. Anyway, so you have here. And from here, ang ba XZ natin, let us show in a XZ view. Let us display, ito ang deformed shape, ano? Ito naman yung deformed shape. Okay, yan deformed shape siya. Basically, ganun talaga kasi uniform load lang naman, ano? So that is what we expect for its deformation. And then yeah, we can display the joints stresses. Ito yung reaction na, ano? Hindi mo na kailangan take moment dito, may reaction ka na. Okay? Or we can also display the frames, forces, dead load and live load, axial forces. Actually axial forces lang naman ang hinahanap natin sa truss analysis, ano? So if you're going to click here, right click, show maximum, this is the maximum load, 531.85 kN, negative kasi compression siya, ano? Compression. Okay? You can change here the cases, ano ba, dead load lang, makita mo yung axial load. If you have live load, makita mo rin, ano? Let's say you have here the bottom chord, positive naman siya, no? Kasi tension, ano? Tension. Okay? So now that we have this one, what else? Now we can do the design. Steel frame design. We are designing using steel, okay? Now we are to check our references. click from here, design code. Marami siya, BIS, yung British Standard 5950 yung ginagamit namin dito. You have also Eurocode, you have Italian, UBC. We just use this AISC LRFD 99. Okay. And then we design, start design, check of structure. Click it. So you see here, this is the ratio of from 0 up to 1. Ito red siya. Failure siguro to. But then let us check from here. Okay. Right click. You have here the details. Okay. So it is safe. Ano? Andito yung details niya. Andito yung mga axial forces niya. Okay. All the forces, andito yung capacity ratio, yung sa demand at sa capacity. The status check is okay kasi ang ratio niya is 0.066. Very minimal. Ano? Masyadong, you can redesign actually. Ito, this one should be at least the same. Okay. So we check all verify analysis and then the design section, check it here. And then you check also here. Still, if all members passed. 6 is still frames failed, stress capacity check. Ito yun, no? May failure siya sa PU. So, what you need to do is to redesign. Ito, baguhin mo yung section na to. You can choose another section only for this one. Okay, so I think that's all only for the brief demonstration of how are we going to use this SAP. So these are actually one of the projects that we used way back in 2008 when I was in dry dock then. But then I'm already in the academy, back in the academy. But these are the construction project that we did using this software. This is what I'm saying about the key block that we are using for, the dry dock construction. And then sometimes we just extract the SAP analysis of the forces will be extracted with the different combination, and then we use it for using this spreadsheet. Okay, so I think that's all for my presentation for this webinar. Thank you for bearing with me. I think I am just good for 2 hours, perfect for 2 hours. So thank you. If you have some question, you may do so. And if you are hesitant, you can just send it to me by email. I could share with you with my email. And if you have some information, some question, you can just reach me through email. Thank you. Ito yung email ko. Okay? Wait. Okay na. Kindly unmute.
Thank you very much, Engineer. Thank you very much, Engineer Bim, for that. Also, thank you. We're now giving the floor. We are now giving the floor for questions to ask Engineer Nebreda. If there is none, awarding of certificate of appreciation to Dr. Engineer Jimmy I. Nebreda. Let me read the citation. Certificate of appreciation is proudly presented to Engineer Jimmy A. Nebreda for being resource speaker of the live Zoom webinar with the theme, The Resiliency of the Philippine Construction Industry during the COVID-19 pandemic, held on June 15, 2011. Signed, Dr. Bienvenido Balalay Jr., Chair, College of Engineering. Signed, Dr. Renato S. Vallado, Campus Director.
Thank you for this.
Dr. Bienvenido C. Balalay Jr., Chair, College of Engineering. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Bim Minute Jr. Thank you, sir. And that concludes our program for today. Thank you, everyone, for your active participation in complete webinar. On behalf of the College of Engineering and the Association of Engineering Students, we would like to extend our gratitude to UEPL family, our resource speaker, Engineer Jimmy A. Nibrida, and the participants from different universities, and those who are in one way or another making this webinar a successful event. Thank you so much and good afternoon.